Hello everyone. Yes, there is session. I can see some of you joining in. Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. So, before we begin today, take a quiet moment to become aware of this within yourself. So, have you ever spent time with someone and afterward felt unusually exhausted? Not physically tired, rather emotionally drained out. Has that been a situation? Like maybe after certain conversations, you feel heavy. Maybe after interacting with some people, your mind keep replaying things. Maybe you notice your energy, there is a sudden drop. Your body feels restless and uneasy. Or say your nervous system feels unsettled. And over the last few days, as we have been understanding a lot of things regarding, we explored about emotional triggers, then how the nervous system reacts before logic, then emotional suppression, how people pleasing creates exhaustion. And today, we are going to understand something many people experiences, however, rarely know how to explain. Why certain people emotionally drain you. And this is highly important because emotional exhaustion is not always about doing too much. Sometimes it is about what your nervous system experiences around certain people repeatedly. It becomes like a repetitive mode. So, before we begin, I want you to reflect honestly on this question. Who do you become emotionally around certain people? What is your emotional state? Do you feel anxious, sometimes guarded, responsible, or more emotionally careful? Just notice that. We will understand this better today. So, the questions again come back to it where have you noticed any time recently? Sometimes some environment, some people leave you feeling lighter. There will be a great energy exchange where just being with that person will make you feel calmer, lighter. All your uh, anxiousness will go away. And some people leave you feeling emotionally exhausted. And what's confusing is sometimes nothing bad even happened. There can be no argument, no major conflict, no dramatic situation. Yet, after interacting with them, you feel mentally heavy, emotionally tense, physically tired, exhausted, or strangely disconnected from yourself. Those entire situation will make you feel as if you don't exist. And most people dismiss this. They say, maybe I'm overthinking, I'm too sensitive, maybe I'm imagining it. Yet, neuroscience and nervous system research show something very important. Your body is constantly reading emotional environments. Yes, you heard it right. Even when your mind tries to normalize them, they are understanding, reading. the emotional area, environment surrounding every time. Hence, you will see certain times few conversation go out of proportion. Human beings are deeply affected by simple tone of voice. As we say, tone can calm the nervous system. It can feel you better or activate your stress instantly. Human beings can deeply affected by the emotional energy that a person carries. Facial expressions. People subconsciously respond to facial expressions. Then the tension, criticism. Every time somebody taking up certain points and trying to criticize. Most importantly, emotional unpredictability. The brain extremely struggle to, in the surrounding or a place to relax when, in an emotionally unpredictable environments, when they don't know what will next happen. And relational safety. It's easy to say emotional healing becomes easier in safe relationships. They're not worried that, okay, what would be the next mood of the person, how the person is going to uh, speak or say something. And your nervous system responds to all of this automatically. Yes, lot of yeses. So sometimes you are not tired because of the conversation itself. You are tired because what your nervous system had to manage during it. The other person won't be able to realize. However, your nervous system is managing these all scenarios, circumstances, events that is happening. Maybe you had to stay emotionally alert, monitor someone's mood all the time to feel safe. That okay, I hope things will be better. Suppress what you really felt. Avoid conflict all the time, over explain yourself, or emotionally carry the interaction. That's the last thing because that stays with you. And over time, that becomes exhausting. Does this make sense? If yes, type in yes. If no, share your experience. So the body becomes tired in environments where it constantly feels the need to emotionally protect itself. And today, we are going to understand why certain people drain the energy and how emotional boundaries affect the nervous system. Why some relationships feel emotionally heavy, and how to stop abandoning your emotional well being in unhealthy dynamics. It's very important. If you have ever walked away from someone feeling emotionally depleted, stay with me today. And like always, for the people who are joining me for the first time, I'm Ishita Bakchi. I'm a life coach specializing in emotional intelligence, a counseling psychologist, a DMIT counselor, and I also work with healing practices like pranic healing, Reiki, and crystal healing. And what my work really focuses on is helping people understand the deeper emotional patterns affecting their energy, their nervous system, their emotional boundaries, their relationships, and their connection with themselves. And many people are not emotionally exhausted only because of the responsibilities. It's not the responsibilities or uh, load that make them tired. They are exhausted because their nervous system rarely feels emotionally safe. They are always struggling. What next? How will be the situation next? How is someone's mood going to be next? And one of the biggest reason for this is constantly remaining emotional available in environments that are draining them. Many people have learned to tolerate this discomfort, emotional discomfort, normalize emotional heaviness, ignore emotional exhaustion, and stay connected to people even when their nervous system feels overwhelmed. I'm sure this could be very much relatable, and that's something every time it's avoided. Nobody looks upon the situation behind the emotional exhaustion or those other words which is very commonly used, overreaction. And over time they stop recognizing what healthy emotional connection actually feels like. That's why today's conversation really matters deeply, because emotional intelligence is not only understanding emotion, it is also understanding what environment your nervous system thrives in and what environment slowly exhausts it, right? So we often see people getting emotionally overwhelmed, or they are not able to handle the situation in that emotional state. Why? Because of the environment that is not able to let them thrive, that is depleting their energy slowly without sometime people letting them know. So there was a phase in my life where I started noticing this something I couldn't ignore anymore. I realized that after spending time with certain people, I felt emotionally different. Not immediately. However, afterward, my body would feel heavier. My mind would be super active throughout. I would replay certain conversations. I would feel emotionally tense without fully understanding why. And what confused me at first was this: nothing openly unhealthy was happening. There were conversation, interaction, there were connection. Yet internally, my nervous system never fully relaxed around certain dynamics. Because every certain conversation had a hidden agenda that the nervous system was fully not able to relax. I noticed I was constantly explaining myself, carefully monitoring emotional reactions, trying to maintain the harmony, being emotionally available for everybody, or suppressing what actually felt. And because I naturally understood people emotionally, I kept justifying it. Maybe they didn't mean it. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. Maybe this is normal. Yet my body kept telling a different story. And one day I realized something powerful. My exhaustion was not coming from interaction alone, it was coming from emotional overfunctioning. I was carrying emotional responsibility that was never fully mine to carry, right? And once I became aware of that, I started paying attention to how my body felt around people, how my nervous system responded, and whether I felt emotionally safe by being fully myself. And slowly, I stopped forcing connection where my nervous system constantly felt tense. It's very important to understand and set some boundaries. I started creating healthier emotional boundaries. I started allowing myself to step back without guilt. And most importantly, I stopped ignoring what my body had been trying to communicate for a long time. And that changed my emotional energy, my clarity, my peace, and the quality of my relationships. That's why I would like to say your nervous system recognizes emotional safety long before your mind fully accepts it. So let us understand why certain people drain you. So, point number one to this, your nervous system constantly scans for emotional safety. That happens unknowingly. Now, let's understand this scientifically. The nervous system is always observing the way, the tone of a voice, whether it is comforting, whether it is arrogance, whether it is commanding, demanding, then your facial expression. Most importantly, like we talked about, emotional unpredictability. We don't know what's next going to come. And that gives you a stress that, okay, how do we keep that unpredictable responses stable? Then the body language, excessive criticism for small things, tension, relational safety. We already spoke about it. This process is connected to something called neuroception. Pardon me. So, neuroception, a concept developed in polyvagal theory. It means your nervous system automatically detects whether an environment feels safe, unsafe, supportive, or emotional threatening. And this happens below the conscious awareness. So even if your mind says everything is fine, that doesn't matter because the truth lies beneath. Your body may still feel that extreme tense, guarded, careful, or emotionally alert. Your body responds not only to words. Listen to this carefully. It's not only the words, it's the emotional atmosphere. Are you getting this? Second, emotional draining happens when the nervous system stays activated too long. Everything needs to rest. Now, this part is important. When you are around emotionally difficult dynamics, where all the earlier said experiences are very common to face, say, be it emotional safety, relational safety, or say predictability, right? When your nervous system may stay in low level survival activation, your nervous system may stay in low level survival activation. when you're constantly surrounded by those emotional difficult dynamics where you're not able to figure out how things will be next. For example, you become hyper aware of the moods of the other person around. You get worried. What's going to come next? How it's going to aggravate the situation? Careful with your words. Emotionally responsible for others. We can't be emotionally responsible for everyone else, right? Can be. Can we be do that? Or constantly adjusting your behavior. And over time, this creates nervous system fatigue. So that's why in research in emotional regulation and stress physiology shows when the body remains emotionally vigilant for long periods, it increases mental exhaustion, emotional burnout, anxiety, decision fatigue, and emotional shutdown. These are terrible situations. And when someone is going through these, that's terrible because, say, take anything, emotional burnout, or say decision fatigue, the ability to make decisions goes haywire because you're not calm in that calm mode, and many people don't realize this. That's the challenge. Emotional exhaustion is often nervous system exhaustion. Some relationship becomes exhausting because your body never fully gets to rest within them. It's completely in active mode. And lastly, the emotional boundaries, that is the third point, protect nervous system health. Whether you accept it or whether you like it or not, this is why emotional boundaries matter deeply. That's why we always keep on saying, set your boundaries very clear. Boundaries are not punishment, they are nervous system protection. If you are not protected, how you're going to comfort others? If you are always feeling in danger mode, what will be the response that you will be providing? A healthy emotional boundary means I can care about someone without carrying their emotional state constantly. It means I can stay connected without abandoning my own emotional well being. I cannot get myself overloaded to make others feel comfortable. And emotional intelligent people eventually learn something important. Not every connection deserves your unlimited access to your emotional energy. This is extremely important. Not every connection deserves your unlimited access to your emotional energy. We take care of our jewelry, our asset. This is an important asset of your own body, your own mind. Protecting your emotional energy is not selfish, it is nervous system wisdom. And make sure you follow that. So, today, I want you to become aware of something true, something being true to yourself. Just gently close your eyes, and we are going to perform certain exercise here. So, once you're comfortable, go to a safe space. See to it that you're not disturbed. In a calmer place, once you're comfortable, gently close your eyes and take one slow breath in and exhale slowly. Take one more breath in and exhale slowly. Now, think about people you interact with most often. And as you think about each person, notice what happens within your body. Do you feel lighter, tense, careful, relaxed, emotionally heavy, drained, safe, or guarded? I'm giving you those clues. Just try to identify what do you feel. Don't judge it. Just notice it honestly. And now ask yourself these questions quietly. Who energizes me emotionally? Second, who consistently exhausts me emotionally? Third, where do I feel emotionally safe being myself? And fourth, where do I feel I have to emotionally manage myself constantly? And now ask yourself something deeper. What boundaries has my body been asking for that I keep ignoring? Maybe it is more space, less emotional responsibility, more honesty, less over explaining, or permission to step back. And now, silently say to yourself, I am allowed to protect my emotional energy. I am allowed to protect my emotional energy. I do not need to stay emotionally available at the cost of myself. I do not need to stay emotionally available at the cost of myself. My nervous system deserves safety too. My nervous system deserves safety too. Take one deeper breath and just notice what awareness comes up for you today. All right, so from today, after spending time with people, ask yourself one simple question. How does my body feel after this interaction? Because your body often recognizes emotional, unhealthy dynamics before your mind fully admits them. Now, come back to the current moment. Be fully aware. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly and a bit longer. Take another deep breath. Take slow breath out slowly. Your emotional energy changes depending on what your nervous system experiences repeatedly. Always remember this. Your emotional energy changes depending on what your nervous system experiences it in an everyday moment. So I want you to leave with this thought today. You are not meant to constantly feel emotionally exhausted in the name of connection. And emotional intelligence is not only learning how to understand people, it is also learning how to stop losing yourself emotionally around them. And that's a continuous process. These are the practices which will help you in those emotionally overwhelmed moments. So, from day one till now, I have been sharing those snippets where you will be able to use them in any situation, like based on the situation which I shared, and work that out. It will help. Because the quality of your relationship directly affects your relationship, your emotional health, your nervous system, your clarity, your confidence, and your inner peace, most importantly. And if today's session made you realize how emotionally overwhelmed or drained you have been feeling around in certain dynamics, if you have been struggling with emotional exhaustion, people pleasing, lack of boundaries, anxiety around relationships, or constantly carrying emotional weight, I do offer discovery sessions where I help people understand their emotional patterns, nervous system responses, relationship dynamics, and how to create healthier emotional boundaries without guilt. No pressure at all. Just a safe space where you can begin reconnecting with your emotional well being. And if you feel called, you can message me boundaries or explore the link in the description where you will get an option to connect with me. And before we end the session, remember always your energy is deeply connected to the emotional environments you repeatedly stayed in. And healing sometimes begins by no longer ignoring what your nervous system has been trying to tell you. If that resonates, type in yes. If this was helpful, type in helpful. So, thank you so much for being here today. See you tomorrow.